What's going on, everyone? Welcome into a Cleveland Browns Report mailbag. We're answering questions from our live show, which starting this week and hopefully moving forward will be on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. So sorry for some of the moving around over the last couple of months, trying to find the winning formula here. So Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern. First question coming in from Really Bigfoot, which I think there was like a somewhat legitimate Bigfoot sighting recently. Would the Browns consider trading? Oh, Nick, I should have pre-read this one. No. There's a couple of reasons why. One, what team is going to trade for Nick Chubb without having any of their medical staff be able to examine him before the trade, right? Two, I don't think the Browns, who are desperate for some points with the fan base, would trade Nick Chubb. Like, they're not going to get much for him. So it's not worth just trying to get something for him, even if it is a lost year. I would turn down, if I were the Browns, like you turn down the 5th or the 6th or the 7th because that's probably all you're going to get for a running back coming off that injury with no ability for the opposing team to look at his medical history or, do a physical on him and all that stuff. Just pass on the day 3 draft pick and don't force the fan base to burn down the entire facility out of anger for this season and then trading Nick Chubb on top of it. So I'm hoping that everyone just says no to this question, but no, I'm not interested in trading Chubb whatsoever. Sure, if you got a first, that'd be awesome. You're not going to get a first, you're not going to get a second, you're not going to get third, you're probably not going to get a fourth, and you're probably not going to get a fifth. He's got it's an expiring contract. He's coming off a major knee injury. What team is going to give a serious pick for him? And if they do, I still think it's just not worth pissing off the fan base even more. Tim Green, can't blame anyone but Haslam and DePodesta. Time to start eating your hat on the worst trade ever. Yeah, I mean, this was a trade that if you really go back to like when it happened, it was so fueled by the analytics of what Watson was able to do in Houston and how the Browns roster was ready to roll. And they felt like Watson would be an upgrade over Baker. And obviously, with hindsight, it's great. But what they probably didn't account for would be the lack of confidence, the lost confidence from Watson, which I think we're seeing right now. And then I'm not quite sure if there's a lack of preparation that goes into Sundays with having a huge contract, not feeling super duper motivated because he puts his ass on the line every single day, every single Sunday. But I do think that the human element was overlooked in this trade, and it was fueled purely based off numbers. And maybe that works most of the time, but this case didn't. Joshua Miller, has Deshaun Watson let the Browns down, or have the Browns let Deshaun Watson down? I think Watson has let the Browns down at this point. Yes, the offensive line's been bad. The receiver drops have been awful, but there are just one too many examples and cases and instances of receivers running open and Watson holding onto the ball for too long and taking a sack. Like at some point, there has to be just too much bad tape on Watson to overlook, which sure, bad tape elsewhere, but it starts with Watson. I think Watson let the Browns down at this point. Bill, Watson 100, Jameis Winston 100%, but if they are smart, they will look at the free agent pool. Here's my thing with Jameis. He's fun from afar. Not convinced that Jameis is this savior a lot of people think he is. I think there's a decent reason why the Saints never went back to Jameis when all they had was Andy Dalton on their roster. So, don't want to be the party pooper. I think this situation is giving me a lot of vibes of Mac Jones in New England. We can argue about Winston or Watson. Good chance they both might not play very well. Good chance they might go from Winston back to Watson. So, yeah, it's worth the conversation, I suppose. But just like in New England, when they went to Bailey Zappi, did it change anything? No. Was it kind of a pointless argument looking back at it? Yeah. That's probably what we're in the middle of right now. Excellent gamer 34. We should draft Kelvin Banks Jr. or Will Campbell if the Browns continue to suck. If the Browns play better, then we should draft a weapon on the defense or offense. You agree? I do agree, actually. I do think if the Browns have a top 10 draft pick this year, they should go for one of these two stud offensive tackles. If they want to do a rebuild, it should start up front with the offensive line and work back from there. I don't think tossing a rookie quarterback behind a bad offensive line is going to do anyone any favors. I'd rather build up the offensive line first and attack quarterback maybe in the next draft. Hello, Arch Manning. And if they can all of a sudden go on a tremendous run, then yeah, let's talk about drafting another wide receiver or maybe drafting probably still want to draft an offensive tackle, to be honest with you. Either way. But yeah, excellent gamer. I do agree with a lot of this. We have some more questions to look at in just a moment, but first, a quick shout out to our sponsor today, which is Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I really like about Game Time is you can get a bird's eye view of your seat before you purchase your ticket. That way you know exactly what you're getting when you spend your hard-earned money. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, getting back to some of the questions from our mailbag here. Where we left off. We left off of Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell, right? That's his name out of LSU? All right, don't worry. So more questions coming in. We've got Ryan Chowdhury. Jalen Milroe. Just Milroe. Milroe. No. I'm not going to make any hard, fast conclusions or opinions on this quarterback class until this college football season is over. We're just into October. I'm not going to make a determination as to yes to that quarterback or no to that quarterback just yet. As of right now, I don't think Milroe would be a very good fit for if the Browns keep Stefanski, what Stefanski's had success with from the quarterback position. And I don't think drafting a quarterback in round one, to me, it's almost like a save the baby, save the marriage baby. We're just going to hope that this next quarterback in round one can pick up with a ready-to-go roster. No, I think you need to retool. I think you need to go and get some surefire things like Kelvin Banks out of Texas or Will Campbell out of LSU. Joshua Miller, drafted left tackle in 2025 and quarterback Nico Iamaleava in 2026 with Winston as the bridge quarterback and DTR as the backup. Yeah. Sold. I'm on board. I am on board with, and we can swap out Nico if a better quarterback comes up or something changes. It's a long ways away from now, but I'm on board with this plan. The Browns made the playoffs last year with basically bridge quarterbacks playing much of the year. I'm on board with let's kind of turn around the offensive line, and Jameis for the whole year from training camp OTAs onwards is your starter. And we saw Jacoby Brissett play pretty well in that role. Joe Flacco, you could swap out Winston with Flacco, and that'd be kind of funny. Well, although the Browns would never do that because that would mean admitting they were wrong about Flacco in free agency this year. So, yeah, Jameis, Josh, I'm on board, dude. Bill, what's going on? What about Chubb? Is he going to play Sunday? We're filming this on Wednesday right now, so this might change by the time this video goes out. I'm hopeful after being limited all of last week in practice that we might get a full participation in at some point this week. And obviously, by the time this video comes out, you guys will know if we did or didn't. But I'm optimistic that we might see Nick Chubb on Sunday, although I feel like the Browns might just give him an extra week and let his first game back be when they return back home, although they are desperate as they come for a win, so they may not, get too cutesy with it like that. AFX Apocalypse. You realize if we bench Watson, he will not return to the Browns. I feel like his ego will be too big and he will leave the team. fine by me. This is Watson's last chance in the NFL. What team is ever going to sign him after this season? He's got way too much baggage for how poor of a player he's been this year to make it worth it. So, for Watson, if he has any aspirations to continue playing in the National Football League, this is it. This is his last stand. Now, maybe he doesn't. He's got a lot of money in the bank, and he can just live his life elsewhere, travel the world, go to Saudi Arabia. But this is his last chance in the NFL. Hey, it's Nash. What's going on, Nash? I had asked a question a while ago about trying out Kareem Hunt for the Browns to at least bring him in for some workouts. Looking back at that now, I am so upset we didn't. I'm a little surprised to see how strong of a start he's gotten off to in Kansas City. I guess for starters, that's the Chiefs for you. That's just what having a great nucleus of a coaching staff with Andy Reid can do with players. 2, what does Andy Reid take the most pride in of all? It's not Mahomes, it's the offensive line. That is Andy Reid's thing. Andy Reid stalks. How the Falcons owner, Arthur Blank, you always see him on primetime games stalking the sideline? Andy Reid does that for his offensive line. He makes sure that his offensive line is playing the best they possibly can. So any running back there, whether it's Kareem Hunt or 7th-round pick Isaiah Pacheco, is going to be in a good spot with head coach Andy Reid taking so much pride in his offensive line. Last question coming in from Cool Guy. What do we do if the Browns don't re-sign Chubb? Will they go and get a running back in the draft like Genty or someone else? Let's see how Chubb plays this year before we get to that point. Maybe he plays well and the Browns and Chubb agree on another one-year contract. I think Genty's going to be a first-round pick. I think he's going to be a first-round pick that goes most likely between 10 and 20. Maybe he sneaks in the top 10 like Bijan Robinson did. But ultimately, I think he's going to be a first-round pick. And I don't think the Browns will be in a spot where they can afford a luxury like Ashton Genty out of Boise State in round 1. So for me, I don't think this is going to be the Browns' selection in round 1. And I think he is going to be a round 1 player. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so. And also, before we go, I do want to get a quick pulse check, we'll call it, on this Sunday. Who you got? I have picked the Browns every single week this year. I have been wrong all but 1 week. I'm picking the Eagles. Hopefully, that's just me reversing the curse on them. But the Eagles come off a bye. The Eagles are hungry for a win because they have been disappointing so far. There is a lot of blood in the water surrounding the Browns. I think the Eagles might make it worse than the Commanders did last week.